This podcast is about to start in 3, 2, 1. So I have an intro for this. You ready?
Okay.
Oi, Ricardo.
Yeah, Hiro?
¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien, ¿usted?
Estoy muy bien, muy bien. Yo quiero un té, un novio, una novia, 3 Coca-Colas y este podcast es fantástico.
I heard you said you wanted tea and you wanted a girlfriend, a boyfriend, and I did not hear the last part. I'm sorry.
I said 3 Coca-Colas.
Oh, tres Coca-Cola. Oh, okay, I get you.
And I think I said this podcast is fantastic too.
Oh, that's all. I understood that, so I didn't even translate.
Okay. So I guess I was right.
You are right. It's just, the accent. I don't understand you without the accent.
Oh, yeah. I tried. At least I tried.
I give you a solid C+.
C+?
C+.
That's not a solid grade. C+ is like, what, 65%?
I mean, at least for one of the movies we're reviewing today, I gave it a C+.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, Hito, welcome back to episode 2 of Minority Opinions Podcast. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Ricardo?
So far in California, I've been dying of this weather. We've been reaching the hundreds, so everybody's just been staying inside and trying to stay alive, like Bee Gees, like staying alive.
That's insane. 100 degrees. Wow.
How's Japan going for you?
It's going all right. It's been we've had some sunny days and rainy days and sunny days and rainy days, and the temperature has been like what's that? It's 25 degrees in Celsius. So I have to convert it. I don't know how to convert it, but I think it's something like 80 something, 90 something. I don't know. You guys are the only country in the world that uses Fahrenheit. I don't understand it.
Actually, there's 2 countries in the world. I believe the second country is either Zimbabwe or West Africa. I completely forgot which one it was.
Okay. 2 countries in the world.
That's
Only
more than
2
one.
countries.
That's more than one.
Sure, but 2 countries? Really? Just come over to the Celsius side, man. It'll make things so much easier.
We're too late. I'm sorry, we're too late today.
So disappointed in you and your country.
Well, actually, today I would say I'm disappointed in one other film that both of us has watched. Actually,
well, I've only seen one of them. You've seen
true.
Both of them, because one of them is not coming out until like August.
That is true. So. And what are those 2 movies we are talking about today, Hito?
We are going to be talking about, well, you will be giving your review of Rocketman, the Elton John biopic, and we will have a discussion of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So that's the plan.
Yeah, Rocketman review might be a little bit more biased because, it's coming from me, and I'm certainly a fan of Elton John, the movie the film's based off from. Yeah. But it's still going to be, I'm going to try to be as objective as possible, but, let's get into it.
Oh, wait. Before we get into it.
What's up?
I just want to say thank you to those listeners who listened to the previous episode, the very first episode. We want to say thank you so much. And to those who gave us a like, we very much appreciate it. Please keep spreading the word. Share this on your social media. Now we're on both SoundCloud and Spotify. And we're trying to
get on Google Play Music.
Are we on Google Play Music?
I requested the podcast and it says we're under review. So that means we're being approved by Google or our overlord somehow. So, you just got to wait for that.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens, but we're going to try to get this out as many podcast suppliers as possible. So we'll update you
make
on
it
this
easy as
thing.
possible.
Yeah, make it easy as possible. Yes, that's right. So with that out of the way, please talk about Rocketman, because I'm not going to be able to see it until the end of August.
All right, so we have this film, Rocketman, directed by Fletcher, actually. And I don't know, most people know this, but Dexter Fletcher was the one who saved Bohemian Rhapsody when Bryan Singer had to leave the project. So we have this film fully directed by Dexter Fletcher because Bohemian Rhapsody, it wasn't fully directed by Dexter. I think Bryan left maybe halfway through the project and Dexter had to finish the rest of the project. So
Yeah.
it didn't have his full commitment to the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Rocket Man, from the beginning, it was Fletcher's baby, right? So we have this film made by Fletcher who talks about the life of Elton John, like a typical biopic. We have, Elton John, a famous British singer, starting from a small town in England, rising to superstardom. But what I found interesting about this film is that it does many things to subvert the typical biopic, like such as films like I think it was Ray with Jamie Foxx, Walk the
Mm-hmm.
Line,
Yeah.
and then Bohemian and other films like that. This film, Hito, if I could summarize this movie in like a single word, I thought it was spectacular.
Ooh.
This movie was such a blast for me. I enjoyed every second of it, and I still keep singing the lyrics over and over again. And I look at YouTube for those scenes of some guy recording the theater, like shaking the camera
Yeah.
of the music numbers in this film, because it is such a well-made, optimistic, beautiful film. This film has an interesting premise. Instead of like a typical like narrative, like okay, chronological order, kid, teenager, young adult, adult.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the movie, you have Taron Egerton, who I'll get back into him in a second, walking through a lightly lit hallway in a orange devil costume, and you're thinking this guy is a magnificent singer. He's joyful. He is successful, but he walks into rehab,
Okay.
and this entire film is him in rehab, recollecting his entire career. And I feel like that's the strongest point because his entire film is completely his point of view. So unreliable narrator.
Okay.
And we talked about it last week, but Taron Egerton played the role, and I don't know if you know this, Hito, but Taron Egerton has a kind of a connection to Elton John. First of all, he was in a musical, you could say, called Sing, and there's a character he plays where at the end of the movie he was required to sing "I'm Still Standing" by Elton John, so he was already kind of familiar with that song. And
Okay.
then our viewers might remember that in Kingsman 2, Elton John was a character in the film.
Right. Right. I remember
So
that.
then his character Eggsy had to save Elton, and they were partners too. And Taron Egerton, he attended university in England. He has a familiar background in theater and performing arts. Apparently, this is the rumor that he completed his degree using an Elton John song, "Your Song." So Taron is very familiar with Elton John, and it was funny because when they casted him, they're like, "This guy's perfect. He knows how to sing. He looks like him." And you know what, Hito? He did spectacular in the film.
And he sang all the songs, right? Unlike
Yes,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
which was mainly lip syncing. Yes, I think I watched. I recently Insider did a video about his singing, and he said for 6 weeks, 5 days a week for 3 hours, he went to a singing coach and piano coach. So he was on that singing path, like piano playing. He had to learn all the songs. He had to not impersonate Elton John. Rather, he did an interpretation of him, rather. So it's not like
Mm.
he's faking a voice like, other people might do, like me with my Schwarzenegger accent. But the point is, this film, with its musical numbers, which resemble old-timey musicals like MGM, Paramount, all those films like in the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
spectacular color everywhere. Like there's Saturday Night is a Good Night for Fighting. We had Rocket Man, where this film took so much chances with its visuals. Like rather than just doing like a typical, oh, I'm gonna play the piano and sing the song. Fletcher decided to do these over the top, exaggerated musical numbers where we have Taron floating in the air. We have him falling through a pool, but there's a kid playing the piano underwater wearing a submarine suit. We have all these magical moments where where he performs Your Song. There's a beautiful stars just flying through the air, and it's just a beautiful film and it utilizes a lot of long takes, which you know that I don't like long takes,
Mm-hmm.
but this film uses them correctly to hold that momentum and hold that energy. It felt like a real musical, Hito.
Wow. Wow. I heard that the movie incorporates magical realism. How does that work?
Magical realism, yes, because there are moments in this film where it seems almost absurd. Like he plays Crocodile Rock in his first major gig, and when
Mm-hmm.
he's playing the piano, the energy is so strong in the room that the crowd in the bar starts floating, and then Elton John starts floating while he's playing the
Oh.
piano. So there are moments like that where it seems a bit absurd, where he's like, okay, this can't happen in real life, but it's the sensation that you
Mm-hmm.
feel when you're in those concerts, or how you feel when you're playing that music, and that really helps with the story and its exaggerated tale. This film makes it a big deal that this is a man's journey of self-discovery and finding out that he is a gay man in England. The entire film, it's not about him trying to become successful. It's actually a story about him trying to earn his acceptance through his parents for being gay.
Mm-hmm.
And the film's relationships, like the love stories and all sorts like that, well done. The screenwriter for this film did a wonderful job establishing relationships between Taron Egerton, Elton John, between his parents, who they make it very clear he hates, and his lovers, who at one point were a bit abusive. They make it work, realistic.
I've got one question.
Yeah.
So I am not. Well, how do I say this? I don't listen to a lot of Elton's music. I
Hmm.
don't know much about his music, his life. I know about his persona. I know about his like a general information about what he's done and his
Hmm.
personality. I know like songs like Rocketman and Tiny Dancer, but I don't know much
Hmm.
about everything else. So would this film work for someone like me as well?
I'd say yes, only because when he starts singing a specific song, like a popular song, they make it clear that that's a popular song. Because when you see that Elton is sitting next to a fire and the lights start getting bright and colorful, and then the stars start moving across the screen, you're thinking, oh, this is a musical number, so this must be a song. So the film does a good job letting you know, hey, it's a musical time. Get ready to dance to a song like this. Because typically the scenes are over exaggerated in a good way. So I feel like if viewers who are not familiar with Elton John, they're going to be still singing like, wow, this is a pretty good song. I love this song. And someone like you, I think you'll love it.
Okay, I can't
All right.
wait. So that was Ricardo's rave review of Rocket Man, and now we're getting into discussion of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So,
All right. Did you know that this film is part of a shared universe?
oh yeah, yeah. So this is part of this franchise cinematic universe called Monsterverse that
Mm-hmm.
the Warner Brothers set up. It started with the 2014 Godzilla and then Kong Skull Island in 2017. I think it was 2017,
Yeah,
right?
I believe it's 2017. Yes.
Yeah. And then now we have this movie, and then we have Godzilla versus Kong coming out in March of next year. So, let's start with you, Ricardo. How did you feel about this movie?
Uh, well, and particularly in the Godzilla franchise, I'm not entirely, you know, emotionally involved with the franchise. I'm very familiar with the franchise. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a paper about the original one. I do research about it. I learned about the franchise. I learned it was the longest franchise in the history of film, and I mean that's fascinating. But typically, I enjoy the franchise. I watched Shin Godzilla. I love that. And then when I wasn't particularly a fan of the 2014 Godzilla.
Yeah.
I don't remember much from it, because mainly because Godzilla wasn't in it
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake, which I'm still upset about, is killing Bryan Cranston in the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes,
Yeah, something like that.
and then relying on Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver to bring the movie's emotional, dialogue into the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that translates into Godzilla King of the Monsters, where overall I wasn't a particular fan of it. I thought it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
There were moments where I found it to be spectacular and eye appealing, but overall I wasn't a particular fan of it, and it wasn't my type of film.
Okay, so I found this thing at a dollar store. It was called Toxic White Fanboy Troll Glasses. So let me put this on because I was intrigued by the title. It's like, ooh, this seems like an interesting item. Let's put this on.
What is it called again? I'm sorry.
It's called Toxic White Fanboy Troll Glasses.
All right.
And it only cost $1. So I mean, let's try it out. Try it on.
All right.
Fuck you, man. This movie wasn't made for you. You obviously don't care about Godzilla. You obviously don't care about Japanese culture. So maybe stop acting like a pretentious piece of and start watching more anime, start watching more Japanese movies, and start enjoying them purely on a surface level like we do. Shut the go. You stop being a pretentious little and you.
That was censorship is gonna love that rant.
Yeah, that glasses, it's toxic. Ugh, it's terrible. Yeah, let's put this away from us.
That's typically the reaction I would probably get online if I gave that opinion about the film. But Hito, what did you think? I felt like we have conflicting views about this film.
So, I'm a big fan of this franchise. As I said in the previous episode, I was born and raised in Japan. I'm from a place called Hiroshima, which some people know that is, it's the city in which the Americans dropped a nuclear bomb during World War II. So this franchise means a lot to me, and the idea that this franchise is built on, it's about the fear of nuclear warfare. It's about the aftermath of the bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I wasn't a fan of the 2014 Godzilla. I thought it was forgettable, mediocre, wasted opportunity. I liked what they were trying to do thematically. It was, it echoed the melancholic themes that you saw in the 1954 Godzilla, but the characters were not interesting. Honestly, looking at a piece of cardboard is much more interesting than watching those minions just walking around and doing shit that we don't care about. And there was not enough Godzilla, which is fine if the story around it was solid and had people that you actually give a shit about, but that was not the case for me. I know some people love the movie, and that's totally fine, but I was hoping this will be the one that make me go, okay, finally Hollywood has made a good big budget Godzilla movie. And I had a great time. I had a wonderful time, although I gotta say I don't remember much of what happened because the story and the characters are still ass.
Right.
But I loved looking at these monsters on the giant screen. This movie gave me everything I wanted to see in a $200 million good Godzilla movie. It's just full of action, full of eye-popping visuals, just a lot of city destruction that you can tell what's being destroyed. Like it's not like Transformers where you don't know what's happening. It's just a digital pixels, just stuff happening on screen. It's visually. Michael Bay's Transformers movies are so visually incoherent, whereas this one, I felt like I know what's going on. I know what this monster is doing to the other monster. And, the fire breath, it's so cool. Oh, look at that, King Ghidorah doing the electricity thing. Ooh, Mothra just flying around and bitch slapping Rodan. It's just, I geeked out so hard. And, the first thought I had leaving the theater was, this is a Godzilla movie made by superfans for the superfans. So this was my shit. This was totally my jam. It hit all the right notes. But I can't blame anyone like yourself who didn't like the movie because there are so many visual cues and music cues that only the hardcore fans can pick up on. And I'm not saying this in like a snobby asshole way or anything. It's just if I were a casual moviegoer or somebody who has only seen a couple of these movies, I'd be fucking confused. I'd be so fucking lost. There are so many things in the movie that would make me go, wait, huh? What is that thing? Where did this come from? What is that word he just said? So I get your frustration. Michael Dougherty, the director of this movie, I saw a couple interviews of his, and he said this franchise meant so much to him as a child. And I think he's a half Caucasian, half Vietnamese.
Oh,
and
I did not know this.
yeah, and I think he said growing up, he's from Ohio, I think, and growing up in the, what do you call it?
The Midwest?
Yeah,
Oh,
Midwest. Midwest as a half white, half Asian person, he had a tough time. He spent a lot of time watching Gojira movies on VHS, and that gave him hope
Oh,
in life.
oh my!
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
This is-
so I felt his love and respect for this franchise just from beginning to the end. Just every frame was like, oh, this guy understands. I have issues with the film, of course, because as a film, the plot makes no sense. Like the
Very-
eco-terrorist bit, I think you have the same problem. The eco-terrorist thing makes no sense. That could have been like cut out. But that's kind of those are some common tropes you see in Gojira, this franchise, like particularly in the ones from the 90s and the 2000s and some from the 70s. So it's not a new thing.
I understand what you mean. It's like, as I mentioned, I'm not a super fan like probably like you or some of our viewers might be or other fans, but it's just when I go into this film and I'm not particularly heavily involved with the project. Whenever I sat through the human scenes, I wanted to fall asleep. I did not want to listen. Like, their son dies in the 2014 Godzilla, and then it's the father trying to redeem himself with his wife and daughter, and then his wife wants to start a like kaiju World War III, and it was.
She's basically Thanos.
Oh my god, she is Thanos. She uses this device called the Okra to manipulate the sound waves, to manipulate these kaiju to fight and destroy the. See, that's where I kind of lost it in the film. I was like, okay, I don't know where this is going. Get to the monsters. Let me show me the monsters. And there's around 4 or 5 monster fights in the film, and I will agree that those monster scenes are spectacular. I will agree. It's not my cup of tea. Like, there's certainly so many aspects of this film that I did not enjoy. But if you just try to sit back and enjoy a good monster movie, I'd say it's a good time. But for me, if you're not a fan, I don't think it is particularly your type of film.
I totally agree what you're saying. I have no emotional attachment to the human characters. I don't give a shit about any of them, except for Ken Watanabe's character, Dr. Serizawa.
He was great. I found his character particularly more interesting, mainly because he was in the first film, the famous "Let Them Fight" line.
Yeah.
So he definitely has that more emotional attachment to Godzilla, which is kind of intimate in this film. I thought it's very intimate, and I like this.
Yeah, and I love what they did with that character. I'm not going to spoil it, but
No spoilers.
Yeah,
today.
no spoilers. But what they did with that character, I thought was beautiful for me, and especially if you know the Gojira history, Dr. Serizawa is the one who invented Oxygen Destroyer in the original 1954. Yeah, so the name comes from that.
Oh, okay.
So what they did with that character in King of the Monsters, I was like, ooh, this is good. It's paying respect, and I love it. So it worked for me. It's better than the 2014 Godzilla.
I agree.
I think I liked Kong Skull Island better.
I agree. I very much enjoyed Kong Skull Island, mainly because there was only one major monster we had to focus on the entire time. We followed him through these humans, which I thought would have been more interesting because
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to survive. And
Mm-hmm.
we have Brie Larson, Samuel Jackson. All those characters are in a survival film, and they're trying to survive. And that film is visually pleasing, especially with Tom. Oh, and Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Remember the machete scene where like the
Mm-hmm.
gap. That movie is visually pleasing. And it's easy to keep track of all the monsters. Whereas I think King of Monsters, there are moments where I'm thinking this is too much.
Yeah, I liked Kong Skull Island because of how nihilistic that movie was. Like,
Nihilistic.
is that the right word? Like,
Yeah.
every human character in that movie is so expendable, and I think that was the point. I would say if you guys are thinking about checking out this franchise, I think the good starting point is the 1954 Gojira or the 2016 Shin Godzilla. That was
Hmm.
the reboot done by Toho. And I'm not the biggest fan of that movie, but looking at all the Godzilla movies and the Hollywood Godzilla movies, I think that movie is interesting enough for new viewers to
Hmm.
try it out. It feels more of a political satire than it is a monster movie. So I think that's why most people like it.
I agree. I saw Godzilla. I think Shin Godzilla in a small theater with a small niche of fans, and I found it particularly better than both these new Godzilla films. And
Mm.
I feel like everybody should check that out before maybe watching this film, so you could see the difference between the quality of the films.
Yeah, and if you liked either the original or Shin Godzilla, then maybe start from there. There are some
Hmm.
fun Godzilla movies from the 90s. There are some really good ones in the 60s and the 70s. This is basically my MCU. And like MCU, there are some great films like The Avengers and Black Panther, which is super entertaining and has some strong political undertone and social messages. But we have something like The Incredible Hulk, which is just nonstop action, 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 and there's no
Hmm.
substance. It's kind of like that Godzilla movies. There are some
Hmm.
great. What was the word you used? I think it was Apex for the Black Mirror.
Apex, yeah.
Apex Gojira movies, but there are some like ass Gojira movies. So think of it as the MCU and start from the 1954 version or the 2016 reboot.
All right, Hito. This week was a good episode. I guess check it out next week.
Yeah,
Check it out next week then, I guess.
yeah. What are we talking about next week?
I don't know if our viewers have heard of this, but we're gonna do two little small films called Aladdin
Yeah,
2019 and Toy Story 4.
yeah. Ricardo is going to be watching Toy Story 4 because that movie doesn't come out in Japan for another month or so, and I'll be doing Aladdin because
I re- I
he's not gonna watch this thing. He said he's not gonna give money to this
I
travesty.
refuse I refuse to give money to Aladdin and these live action remakes, but that is just my views.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a Disney slash Pixar week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're corporate sellouts now.
yeah. We're what's the word? Shills.
We're corporate shills now.
Yeah, we're Disney shills. And because we are living in two different countries, it's hard to talk about the same movie. Like it was lucky that we got to talk about Godzilla on this episode, but it'll be hard to do like to share both of our opinions on one movie. So we are thinking of doing this thing towards the end of every episode. I don't know what we're gonna call it, but it's
Mhm.
we're gonna talk about a movie that we can both see on streaming services and then talk about it in every episode, maybe bi-weekly, something like that.
Maybe
And what are we talking about in the next episode?
it's a It's a long title for the episode.
It's a long
isn't
the English title is much longer than the
it
Japanese
it's
title.
a, is it the taste of green tea over rice?
The flavor of
The the flavor of green tea over rice.
yeah. It's a
Directed by
it's a film directed by Yasujiro Ozu, our favorite Japanese Paddington-like director.
Ozu, of course, one of the best directors of all time.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That is certified by the establishment of Ricardo and Hito.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that.
All right, so we got next week's episode ready, and we gave our reviews. Hito, ready to sign off?
Yeah. By the way, you've been a fabulous co-host today.
Oh, thank you. You know what? You're better. You're fat. You're terrific.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
All right, so we're signing off. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like this on SoundCloud or Spotify. I don't know how Spotify works.
You share you share it with people, or you just tell people on the street like, "Hey, check out this podcast that I'm listening to," and they're like, "Who are you?" And they're just like, "Minority Opinions Podcast. Check it out."
Okay, I guess that's how it works. So yeah, share this on your social media. Spread it. Spread the word. And I will see you guys. We will. Why am I say I? We will see you guys. Yeah, I'm so selfish. We will
selfish.
see you guys next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.